poll and start to learn a little bit about your fellow attendees, what gives them their superpowers, and what reminds them of how strong they truly are. So many women suffer from imposter syndrome for one reason or another. What's one small thing you might do tomorrow to help a woman on your team feel empowered? So thank you all for taking that moment to share about yourself. And if you haven't responded to the poll yet, it will stay open for a little while and we can share back results later. There will be many moments throughout the day where you'll get to know each other. I encourage you all to really lean in and embrace it. The people, all of you really, ultimately are what get me excited about this conference. Back in 2017, my manager encouraged me to apply to the first annual WIAC. I was managing a team of data scientists at BuzzFeed at the time, and my peers in data were all men, and not necessarily the most empathetic men. I felt like every manager I had was trying to guide me into becoming a version of them, instead of becoming the best version of me. But I knew I could only succeed if I found a way to lean into my unique strengths and be a leader as only I was qualified to be a leader. I needed more role models, especially female role models, to help me learn about the type of leader I wanted to be. When I got to the conference, out on the Meta campus in Menlo Park, I was 6 months pregnant, adding a new dimension to my uncertainty. I had no idea what it looked like to be a female leader in data, let alone a working mother. I arrived on campus and was greeted by a long line of logistics. Sign in here, wait in this line to get your badge here. All things I'm really glad I didn't have to think about organizing for today. Seems very overwhelming. But in that line, I was lucky enough to be standing next to a woman named Karen. She was also traveling from New York for the event and also spent her career in and around media, technology, and data. The main difference being that she had at least 10 more years experience than I and was running her own venture fund at the time. We only spent an hour or so together that day, between sessions and over lunch in what we thought was like a much too nice office that we were in apparently. And we became friends, and she became one of the people I call upon when I am considering a new job or want advice. She was a female leader in data that I was so desperate to find. But she wasn't the only leader that I met that day. I remember being awed by the women who put together the conference. Jenny Romanek and Nell Thomas were both data science managers at the time and had created an event that brought together more than 500 women in analytics. They were creating the spaces they couldn't find and making a haven for women to connect. There was a speaker, I honestly forget her name, who talked about what it's like to be a new working mom and how balancing can be whatever makes you feel balanced. And sometimes that means working more, and sometimes that means being home more. I met Tamara Shapiro, who was leading a large team at Instagram while also raising her 2 young children. And I heard from incredible women inside and outside of Facebook, leading their teams and making space for women in a field that is still dominated by men. After the conference, I reached out to Tamara and Nell about starting a New York chapter of Women in Analytics to keep building those relationships beyond the conference walls. At the first event, I was at least 8 months pregnant, but still remember how amazing it was to be in a room of women across all different types of analytics coming together to connect. A year later, when Tamara had an opening on her team, she reached out to me, and that's how I made my way to Instagram, a job I truly love. Jenny, that manager I so admired, is now the head of analytics at Instagram, and Nell now leads technology and analytics for the Democratic Party. I now manage a team of data scientists and get to build products to help people connect over content on Instagram. How cool is that? This conference and this community played a large role in getting me here, and it's a crucial part of my career story. And while I'm still finding out who I am as a leader, I now have role models and colleagues and friends whom I can learn from. I don't have the answer yet, but I do have a lot more data. So wanted to go through a couple of logistics for the day before I introduce you to our amazing next speakers. Please step number 1, turn off your self view. So on Zoom, it has this awful feature where it's just showing you what you look like all the time. There's like 3 little dots, just get rid of that. Stop looking at yourself. It's like very calming to not see yourself back. Second thing, get ready to participate. There will be multiple opportunities to meet people and connect. Please bring your whole self to this event and share with the people you meet. Third ask is to unplug. Really try to sign out of email, turn off chat, whatever you can do to feel more present in this moment and with this community. When I volunteered to chair this, I really had no idea what I was doing and what I was signing up for, but I knew that I missed making those connections and building those relationships that long-term end up being so valuable in our careers. So we've spent the last 8 months bringing together this amazing group of people so that you may start to rebuild or keep building that network of women who will mean so much to you. I now have the great pleasure to introduce Deborah Berebichez and Sheryl Sandberg, who will be joining us for a fireside chat. Deborah is the first Mexican woman to graduate from Stanford University with a PhD in physics and uses her education and background to make complex topics approachable to a wide range of audiences. She is currently the lead scientist in microelectronics and quantum computing at VTT, one of Europe's leading research institutions. Previously, she was chief data scientist at Metis, my own alma mater, where she directed the education programs in data literacy, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Sheryl Sandberg is the chief operating officer at Meta, overseeing the company's business operations and serving on its board of directors. Sheryl is the co-author of Option B, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy, with Wharton professor and best-selling author Adam Grant. And she is also the author of the bestseller Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead and Lean In for Graduates, in addition to being an incredible advocate for women in the workplace. I'm so thrilled to have Sheryl and Deborah here today and hope you will all join me and Taylor after the talk to connect over what we have heard. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is one of my favorite things we do, kind of sort of every year, right? We try to do this every year. Hi, Debbie. I'm thrilled to be with you.
Hi, Sheryl. I can't see you, but hi.
You can't see me? Can you see me?
Oh, yes. Now I can see you. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
I've been here.
Great.
Great. So anyway, hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm really excited to be here with Debbie. You've already been introduced, but a physicist, a data scientist, and strong advocate for women in STEM. It is delightful to have you. Debbie was the first Mexican woman to obtain a PhD in physics from Stanford. How crazy is that, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a minute on that. Fantastic for you, but I'm sure there are many, many, many women from Mexico who are capable of that achievement.
Absolutely.
But you have paved the way for so many of them. She works as the lead scientist in quantum computing at VTT, one of Europe's leading research institutions. She's received many awards for her work, including she was recently listed as one of Wired UK's most inspiring women of the decade. So thank you for being here today to inspire us.
Thank you, Sheryl. I can't tell you what an amazing honor it is for me and what a career highlight it is to be speaking next to you. I've been a huge fan for many, many years.
Well, I'm your fan. So I get to interview you, which is really fun for me. We're here today, obviously, as you know, at Meta's Women in Analytics Conference, which is a gathering that celebrates women data professionals. So we're going to start with your story. What made you decide to pursue a career in STEM, and what were some of the barriers you found, and how'd you get through them?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I was an extremely inquisitive child. From as far back as I can remember, I loved physics and I loved asking questions about nature and why things work the way they do. But growing up in Mexico City in a conservative community, physics was just not something that girls did. And so from a very young age, I was told that I shouldn't pursue a career in STEM. And my mom even went as far as to tell me to not let anyone know that I was attracted to mathematics because, what would people think? And so when it came time to choose a college, I chose philosophy to study in Mexico because I had sort of believed what everyone had told me that I wouldn't be able to do physics. And 2 years after I studied philosophy, I realized that this inner voice and this hunger to do physics and know math was not going to go away. So I was very bold for that time in my life, and I secretly, behind everyone's back, I applied to schools in the US, knowing that I probably wouldn't be able to afford them, but I wanted to give myself the chance to pursue physics. And to my delight, I received a full scholarship to attend Brandeis University in Massachusetts. And when I arrived there, I had the courage of taking my first astronomy class, and I met a person who became my mentor, Rupesh Ojha. He was a graduate student from India, and he basically helped me with my first big challenge, which was to compress the whole first 2 years of the physics major into 2 months so that I could complete the major in only 2 years, which was what my scholarship was for. After that, I graduated summa cum laude and with highest honors, which only taught me that with that great privilege, I had a great responsibility to help others who, like myself, feel attracted to science and who, for some reason, whether it be financial or social, they feel like they cannot achieve their dreams. And 6 years later, like you said, I was extremely fortunate to work with the most current Nobel Prize winner at the time, with Steve Chu and with Bob Laughlin at Stanford. And I was told that I became the first Mexican woman to get a PhD in physics there.
It's just an amazing story. And I love how you share it so openly and so clearly. I also had an experience like this in math. I'm sure I wasn't as good as you are, but I was good at math in high school, and my high school math teacher told me to go to this math contest, and I went and did okay, but there were no other girls there. And I came back and said, there's no girls. He was like, yeah, this is really something boys do. I understand
That's terrible.
Why you don't want to do it. And it's terrible, but he was a great guy. Anyway, long time ago. Okay, so you've held technical leadership roles across so many companies, Morgan Stanley, Metis, and now VTT, Technical Research Center of Finland. In the past, you've talked about using proactive leadership to grow your career. What is proactive leadership?
I love the term because I think as women of this generation and in STEM, we do get encouraged to act as leaders and, seek our values and search for, making our accomplishments be known and etc. But very few people talk about the difference between being a reactive versus a proactive leader. And for me, a proactive leader is someone who simply makes things happen. You take the initiative, you plan for the future, and you think deeply, constantly about the circumstances that surround you, the people around you, to create opportunities for you and for others that didn't previously exist. So let me give you an example. My family recently moved to Finland because the government in Finland was searching for technology talent, and the program invited us. And as soon as we arrived, my husband, who's also a physicist, wanted to meet the CEO of VTT, which is the largest research center in Finland. And the program told them that the CEO, Antti Vasara, was a very important man and that he wouldn't be able to meet him until a few months later when the rest of the people came in and they'd do a meeting. And I didn't like that because I thought, the program's goal is to connect us with as many tech leaders as soon as possible. And so I told my husband, hold on 1 second. And instead of just being reactive, I said, I'm going to be proactive about this. So I contacted Antti Vasara on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter. Yeah. And within 6 minutes, I'm not joking, he called me on the phone because I included my telephone number. And he's like, why not? And he's like,
It works.
Exactly. More often than not, it works because I took the chance. We met for lunch. And then the second thing where I think my proactive leadership came in is that when we met, my husband was asking about job opportunities for him at VTT, and he was trying to fit his skills into the job descriptions that existed there. Instead, I said, you know what? I have an idea of how my skills and my goals of working in quantum computing can actually help transform VTT and help you reach your goals. So I pitched myself a novel position that didn't exist before. And he liked the idea so much that the position was created for me. And now I'm leading the quantum computing team. And it worked.
It's just awesome. I love it. So I wrote and lean in a lot about the positive correlation about success and likability for men, and the negative correlation of success and likability for women. As a man gets more successful, he's better liked. It fits our stereotypes. We feel comfortable with success in women and men. As a woman gets more successful, we're not sure. This is something I know you've talked about too, and I know it's something you've faced in your career. How do you think about giving advice to women who feel stuck in that trap?
Yeah, this is a really important one, especially in the beginning of my career. I worked in Wall Street, like a lot of physicists. I was working as a quant, basically trying to solve equations in the market. And I joined Morgan Stanley, and my first instinct was to be liked. I thought naively that if I was liked enough by my team, by my managers, I would get promoted, I would get introduced to more client accounts, and I would get the opportunities that I was striving for. Instead, I focused so much on being liked, and my Latin culture also held me back from appearing as too aggressive or domineering. And so I focused so much on that I was fearful of being competent and with my colleagues, and I said yes too much about helping others with their work. I let other people take credit for some of my work, and I just passed on those opportunities. So at the end of the year, most of my peers got promoted and I didn't. And I was really sad because that promotion meant that not only were they going to get to earn more money, but they were also going to get more responsibilities and more career opportunities, which I really, really wanted. So I paid the likability penalty. And so the next year I tried to course correct. And so I said, I'm going to focus on making my competence known. Little did I know that women face this double-edged sword because you have to decide either or, sadly. And so my colleagues reacted negatively to when I was more protective of my time and my projects. And so, again, I felt forced many times to try to act, very friendly and nicely when my male colleagues didn't have that pressure. And so my advice is, when you face this likability trap, is don't let your behavior be driven by whether you're liked or not. Keep your integrity and also have a personal purpose. And, something very important is be a champion for other women that are around you and both above and beneath you in title.
I so agree with that. When I wrote Lean In, one of the stories in Lean In is from when I was in business school. So at the end of, there's two-year program. At the end of the first year, I got this check in the mail. Congratulations, your, whatever the prize was, you're first in the class. But it was like, $517.36. So it was like very clear that it was a prize that had been split.
Yes.
So I got back to business school, and 6 men told everyone in the class they got this prize. And I multiplied my check times 7, and it was like a perfectly round number. I'm like, okay, there's 7 of us. And the 6 men told everyone, because in business school, your grades are class participation. So by telling everyone they're smart and they got this prize, everyone would be like, oh yeah, look what he said. And it made it easier for them the second year. And I didn't tell anyone. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I'm more modest. Maybe, but I really think I was actually intuitively understood that it worked for them. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
Like, you could be first in the class and be a man, and that was a good thing as a woman. Mm-hmm. So telling everyone to own it. I wish I could go back.
Yes.
And, hey, I got that prize too. I don't know.
I agree. And good for you. And modesty doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. Well, you want to have that balance, which you have. But I think owning our sense of accomplishments, like you did need to set out to tell people what you were accomplishing. and it works.
Yeah.
So
What I mean is that, these days, it's good to own what you do and share it with your peers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I often tell women and men that careers are jungle gyms. They're not ladders. You don't find some path and go up. You go back and forth and find things that are interesting to you. You initially studied philosophy in college before shifting to physics, and your career has continued to take a winding road. What's your advice to women in this audience on designing career paths?
Yeah, I think we focus too much on learning what our passions are and knowing that perfectly. And if you wait and wait for when you have that clarity, you may never pursue something and time runs by. So I would say know your goals and your personal values to a certain extent, but don't wait around for somebody to come in and hand you the perfect job offer and tell you, you're perfect for a head of engineering at Google. That's doesn't happen very often, and it happens way less for women than for men. So take the reins of your career early in an active way. Step up to lead a project in your team, propose a new collaboration, gather the data, apply to a conference, all these things. Select opportunities that determine what you want to happen in your career, and prepare in advance. One piece of advice that was given to me is prepare in advance how you want to react to certain job situations, because then when they happen, you don't take things so personally, because you've already visualized how you want to be perceived and how you want to interact with others and show your leadership.
That's such good advice. All right, last question, Debbie. One strategy women who are watching can use to better advocate for themselves in the workplace. What's the one thing you would recommend?
Well, I always say be bold and be brave, because chances are, other people are waiting to hear from you and want to hear your voice and want to see you assert yourself. But more than that, one concrete piece of advice that I want to give is keep a work journal. It has helped me enormously to write down, whether it's in an Excel spreadsheet, in email, whatever, just write down your work accomplishments as well as your challenges and how you overcame them. One day when you're fighting for that promotion or you need to assert your accomplishments, that list will come in quite handy. And also read it every month to see what skills you have been developing and to overcome challenges, and what are your blind spots that you need to work on.
Thank you. Debbie, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us all the way.
Thank you so much, Sheryl. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's been an honor. And to everyone here, keep it up. You are the living example people need.
Yay. Take care, everyone.
Kind of waiting for someone else to pop up and take over before I log out. This is the awkward pause of a Zoom. This is the part where we walk off the stage.
Yeah, but it knows.
Ladies, Debbie and Sheryl, you're great. You're not going to the main Zoom anymore. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Don't disconnect me. I want to show someone something. Is that all right? Just leave me on for a minute.
None of this is going out to the world, so you're allowed to do whatever you need to here.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye, Debbie.
Bye, Sheryl. Take care.